Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Bike Chat, Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You know where to find us. Same place, same lovely Blab channel. Do us a favor, share this out with your friends, followers. Also, you can share this to your Facebook audience as well. I do introduce my co-host with the most, amateur professional cyclist, craft beer lover, complete cycling tech geek nerd to the nth degree. Brand new, totally warranty replaced, badass carbon trek bike that he'll probably drop a million plugs about because he loves it so much.
Yeah.
Mr. Gunnar Soros. Gunnar,
Whoop, whoop.
Good evening. What is going on in beautiful Rochester, Minnesota, might I ask?
Oh, things are going down here. It's crazy busy. I got all kinds of stuff going on between work and riding and household stuff and getting things together and lawn mowing and eBay sales and trying to come up with possible t-shirt designs for another adventure. So I don't know, all kinds of stuff. My brain is all over the place and just happy to be here tonight on Bike Chat.
Love it.
Everyone else on here too.
Love it. And hey, listen, I do want to give a shout out to our, oh, look at that. That is fantastic. Love it. Beautiful.
Ooh.
Want to give a shout out to our tweet chat friends going on right now. Hashtag Bike School. As I said, may be able to jump in and follow the thread there. But again, that is going on right now. Live tweet chat. It's hashtag Bike School. And they usually throw about 8 to 10 questions out there. So again, if you are all about ADD multitasking and want to jump in between checking this awesome show out about electric bikes and such, please do that. Two other things. I want to encourage you to join the Bike Chat Facebook page. That will keep you up to speed with what is going on. And not this month, but the first Tuesday of July. Gunnar, ironically, look at that. What do you got going on for our audience for the first Tuesday of July? What's going on?
That is going to be Craft Beer Blab. We're changing the format of that to once a month starting in July. So at least through the summer, possibly going back to once every 2 weeks or once every week in the fall. It all kind of depends on what's going on and viewership and all kinds of number of technical stuff. But
Fair enough.
we're going once a month at least through the summer. And this July, because it'll be the day after Independence Day, we'll be talking American beers and, hopefully drinking either America or whatever type of beer you want to drink. I mean,
I'm not going to lie to you. I almost bought a 12-pack of the Bud America beer.
Nice.
I did.
See?
I was close. It's pretty dang patriotic, I gotta tell you.
Right.
But although I have to say to you, Jenny beer, Genesee beer, right?
Yep.
They have actually followed suit and changed to some commemorative cans. So I think somebody's like paying attention to what's going on the other side of the fence. I don't know if Genesee beer is going to rival the sales of Budweiser.
Right.
But I'm sure that people will buy those specific commemorative cans. Now, here's another weird thing, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this. This is a complete segue. Do you know of people that actually collect beer cans?
Oh, people do. Yeah.
Right. We haven't talked about it. I want to think
about it.
So.
And that could be something else that we could talk about on
serious.
On July 5th is that whole side of it, because you see them at garage sales, you see people collect them. I mean, they go up for auctions and people buy them. I mean, old cans, old, what is it, Billy beer, Billy Carter. I don't know if you remember that.
Nostalgia. Yeah.
People buy that up. Yeah.
Topper, something like that.
Yeah.
All right. So let's reel it back in here. Let's talk e-bikes. Let's talk electric bikes. Let's talk about a couple things. I saw Tommy K jumping in and out here. I don't know what he's doing. He's probably vaping or something like that. But we're seeing a lot happening right now. So in the first 15 minutes of the show, Gunnar, I'll let you lead it out. What can you see as far as, you know, your visual on e-bikes? What's one of the things you see that could potentially be a game changer or a significant impact from the consumer populace across the board as you know it, or we know it, I should say, for our listener audience?
Well, you know, to me, just the e-bike category itself is the game changer.
Sure.
And what I mean is that it's, you know, you and I, we ride a lot, and we know people that ride a lot, and
Definitely.
you know, obviously we talk to some of the pros, and obviously they ride a lot.
Yep.
We take it for granted that you know, we can go out and you know, for different people it's a different amount of miles, but for some people, you know, a 20-mile ride is like a cakewalk, and
Right.
you know, crank that out in the morning and do it in an hour, and that's it.
Yep, definitely.
Whereas for a lot of people, something like that is going to be a struggle. I mean, for a lot of people, just getting out and riding for 20 miles is going to be kind of something that's maybe the event itself won't take all day, but they're going to be wiped out for the rest of the day. So what I'm saying is that e-bikes are going to allow someone, you know, maybe Joe Smith that doesn't ride as much, be able to jump on his bike and ride and keep up with, maybe not totally keep up with, but keep up with you or I or someone that takes it for granted that we can pound out 20 miles quickly.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Allow them to enjoy it and to not, you know, I don't know if you've ever ridden with someone that's slower than you, or if you've been the slow person on a ride. There is some guilt involved in being the slow person and having everyone wait up for you. And it's like, oh my gosh, here comes that guy again. And, you know, maybe it's not outward appearance, but, you know, a lot of times when you're waiting for buddies, it's like, okay, hurry up. Okay, he's here. Let's hammer again. And so the person's always yo-yoing to catch back up and then always being left in the dust. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally can relate to that. You know, and in both aspects, you know, I've been on rides where, you know, I've been constantly waiting for people to catch up. Well, I've definitely been on rides where I've been the rider trying to catch up. You know, I think that, I mean, I think that courtesy across the board, I mean, cycling itself has changed. I mean, there's still like hammer rides per se. But I think across the board, no drop has definitely become more commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do feel that with the advent of e-bikes, electric bikes, that is definitely going to, I mean, I guess I don't want to say level the playing field, but, you know, I have definitely talked to a number of my good friends that have ridden e-bikes. I don't know anybody that actually owns one per se. I'm talking about like my buddies that are reps and things like that have actually spent like legitimate trail / saddle time riding one. So,
Right.
You know, two things to kind of build off what you're saying is, you know, it's all about the experience. It's all about the fun. You know, it's all about the excitement, the thrill. You know, being able to say, hey, I'm a cyclist, or I had a great time this weekend, or went riding here. And I think we need to look at that and say, you know, is that ultimately the variable that we want to focus on? Okay. And you know, whether you're taking a bike trip to the trails in Rochester, Minnesota, or you're hitting up some of the local trails in Rochester, New York. I mean, we have so many things going on in our lives, and I think, as we all know, many of the listener audience, and you know, we can relate to a quote unquote life balance. And you know, sometimes you get the opportunity to ride a lot, and sometimes you don't. So that said, could you imagine right? If you were to be, given some, magical serum that enabled you to ride just as good, in those off or not so peak times, right? As if you were like able to get ample amounts of saddle time. Now, that said, the e-bike is, it could be that.
Right.
It could be. There's no question about it. I mean, it certainly will enhance the experience to the good.
Right.
You know what I mean? It is definitely not something that's going to make you slower, right? So if you are on those no drop rides, the effort that you have to put in, it's probably still going to be there, because I think most of the smarter e-bikes are they're user adaptive. So I mean, obviously the energy you put into it, you get in there. It's not like the thing completely cranks a wheelie, or you're doing, single track burnouts. But, so I think that said, I believe that's got to be a lot of the misconceptions that people don't understand, because, you see the people, the random, let's pick on commuters, the ones that solely use them for commuting. By the way, great idea. Yeah. 2 or 3 people that I talked to that I know, they're just like, you know what? Best thing ever. They said, cuts down my commute, super convenient. They're in quasi work garb. They don't have to break, they don't have to break their ass to get to work. You know what I mean? It's like, it makes tons of sense to me, because, you and I both have been in situations where we've like commuted to work, and you know what? I mean, unless it's like an optimally chilly day and you're not sweating, I mean, you're still going to break a sweat, right? So, the e-bike certainly doesn't make it like cake. Are we talking about pedal assist or straight up e-bikes? It's a little bit of both. I mean, I've seen, that's a great question. I mean, we've seen both, and I think this show is really to help kind of have that conversation. But yes, in regards, Jonathan brought up a question about pedal assist. A couple of the friends and colleagues that I know, they have pedal assist bikes, so they're not full tilt e-bikes. So for clarification, that is a good question. So. Yeah, great lead in, Gunnar. I mean, I think you're spot on. I feel like that's definitely going to be, a game changer. I would say without question. I would also say that if I'm a retailer, I'm trying to not miss this whole, wave of a new SKU category coming into the shop. I feel like also too, to Jonathan's point, whether it's a pedal assist or e-bike, it definitely is there. There's a mechanical advantage there. Let's just say it that way. You know what I mean? I think, Jonathan, in fairness to you, there's clearly 2 different delineations. However, if I'm pedaling my bike and Gunnar is pedaling his bike, and Jonathan, you're on either of the 2 bikes, you are at a little bit of an advantage, I would say. That's just me. I mean, I don't have extensive amount of experience on these products to know that wholeheartedly. However, I mean, it's just a matter of common sense. I mean, if I start coasting and I'm pedaling my bike, the thing's not going to accelerate any faster, or, depending on where it is in terms of the terrain or surface, not going to really necessarily maintain the speed for very long.
Right. Well, and have you seen the video that I think it was just released last week? Have you heard of Martin Ashton?
Yes.
He was a trials guy, and he got into an accident, and I think he broke his spine, and so he's paralyzed, I think, from the chest down.
Yep.
Well, so he has an e-bike now, and they just released a video over the weekend showing him at the World Cup event, riding the World Cup course on his e-bike that's made specially for him, and again, this is more of a straight up e-bike because he has no use of his limbs, of his legs, so he can't pedal, so there's no pedal assist.
Right.
Here's technology that allows someone that is otherwise confined to a wheelchair to still enjoy what he loves to do. I mean, that would be like one of us losing our legs or the ability of our legs, and okay, well, I just love to ride my bike. How am I going to do that now? Well, the e-bike allows him to still do it. I mean, he still needs help getting into the bike and actually starting to go. But once he's going, he has that throttle and he's riding this bike and he's going, so he can do what he loves.
Great.
Which is, I don't know, to me, it's freaking amazing.
Great. No, and I think that is, again, one of those, without question, game changers. And I feel that, as I said, if we look at that particular situation where you have somebody who is no physical way of really, again, getting on a bike and actually, physically pedaling it on their own, it's just not going to happen. However, awesome. Thanks for the share there. Perfect. Pinello dropped that link there. Check it out. But again, to your point about being able to get on a bike with, debilitating injury aside, or to our conversation earlier with, I don't know, Gunnar. I mean, I'm not really thinking of nailing down the exact descriptor, but let's say average, the average consumer or the average customer that, to your point, maybe doesn't really ride that much, 1 to 2 times a week. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Maybe like the weekends, who knows? But, I feel like that is definitely going to encourage people to really get, I think, a little bit more value add out of the experience.
Right.
And, again, same conversation is if that's the difference between the family, riding for a couple hours rather than for an hour, and I think that's a huge win for cycling. It's a huge win for the industry. It's a huge win for the shops. It's a huge win for the economy, for the carbon imprint, those kinds of things. I mean, if people can better utilize their time from, excuse me. Hey, we got a tornado going on in here. Have you seen this?
Yep.
Okay. Well, these are like, never mind. Sorry. My kid's like underneath the table and there's like paperwork all over the place. So I'm just, anyway. And as I was saying, I feel like that could be, a huge advantage, for the industry and the populace across the board. And I think the irony is that too many people are jumping to the negative. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm one of those people that, was.
Sorry about that.
I feel like I'm one of those people that initially was quick to jump to, the handle of kind of poo-pooing the whole e-bike thing, and I really have not spent enough time to realistically understand or really appreciate the value of an e-bike, which we're talking not so much pedal assist, but more or less on the lines of the way that it's being applied to the mountain biking side of things anyway. So,
well, and I still have, I don't know, maybe the correct word is prejudice. I still have prejudice or a reservation for especially the straight up e-bikes on mountain bike trails, just because to me, at some point, where does it become like dirt biking and where does mountain biking end? And
right.
I don't want to see trail access taken away from mountain bikes as a whole because some yahoos on an e-bike are tearing it up. Right. That's my fear. And so I have this reservation and I have this prejudice. So while today I love the fact that it allows people with lower abilities or diminished capabilities to be able to ride and do something that I take for granted. On the other hand, I'm really concerned about people that are capable grabbing an e-bike because, hey, we can tear it up now instead of, busting our hump and riding. We can just, twist the throttle and get that same enjoyment without having to waste gas on an actual dirt bike.
Yeah, I think you definitely have some valid points, and I know that Hey, Joy, welcome to Bike Chat. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate that. Again, thanks so much to the few folks bravely hanging in here. Jonathan Perez, what's going on? Great to see you here. Rick Dalton in the house. What's up, Rick D? One of my homies from Rochester, New York. Again, folks, if you're just tuning in, this is Bike Chat every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Jody Pasquale and awesome co-host Gunnar Soros. We are talking about e-bikes and the state of the union as far as where we are. Jonathan Tapp says, I agree. I'm not a huge fan of e-bikes using a throttle to share trails. Well, I wanted to kind of dovetail on that, and I feel like that is, without question, probably one of the biggest, holding factors of this scenario. And I feel that based on a lot of the big manufacturers, the Specialized, the Treks, the Giants, whoever that have these particular bikes in the queue, i.e., already in production, I feel that they're I don't want to say holding back, but I don't really feel like they're running to market to cram, and market and promote these particular category bikes to us, because I feel like they're their fear is that if they prematurely flood the market or try to instill to the public that these are the next new, and across the board there's just extreme barriers that the end users are going to have to deal with. I mean, they're going to be pissed, because I don't know about you, but I can tell you that whether it's a pedal assist or an e-bike, they're not, I would say they're definitely not inexpensive. I wouldn't necessarily say they're not expensive. I think they're probably in that price range where if you're going to be buying a decent one, you're really going to be thinking about it. So I guess my point that I want to say is, Gunner, you fork out, let's say you fork out $3-4 grand on the, the awesome trail, dually e-bike, right? And you decide to like rip down to your local trails, and it's like, not going to happen. You're going to be bummed out because, the shop's going to be like, sorry, dude, we sold you the bike. Maybe they'd make good on it, but I guess the bottom line I'm trying to say is that you're going to be out, a significant investment and not really have a way to utilize that. So I think that, digging a little deeper into kind of your point, Gunner, and Jonathan, your point about, that trail advocacy. I mean, that's pretty, that's pretty huge. I would have to say, if I were on a ride and I were to come upon some riders in that particular category, or to be to be overtaken by riders like that, whatever, not that I'd be worried about being passed, but I mean, I think that the mentality of the end user would change significantly. I think it would get to the point, and I don't know this, but I mean, this is to me speculating, mind you,
Right.
I agree, is I wouldn't want, a bunch of, throttle twisting vigilantes. And that's not what's going to happen. But I can definitely see there being a potential for that to be abused. If you do have people, riding, trail systems at definitely faster speeds than normal, you're gonna be capable of that. Again, especially if it's an e-bike. I mean,
Right.
More likely with a pedal assist, but definitely likely with an e-bike. And like anything, it's you got to have the you can't fix stupid clause. I mean, you are going to see some people get messed up. You know what I mean? It's just that simple. I mean, unfortunately, with road bikes and motorcycles, you get people that get into situations that they shouldn't be there, and when you're moving that fast, it's not a pretty picture. And it's the same thing off road. Is I'm really fortunate that I know where my envelope is. If I'm gonna eat shit, I mean, I'm like, okay, whoa, like I know I'm riding at a speed or level that I I could ride, but if I end up bouncing off the pedals or off the trail, it's not going to be a pretty scenario.
Right.
But again, I know that, right, because I'm the one physically propelling the bike, right? Where you're sitting here, pedal assist or e-bike or not,
Right.
I mean, you have to realize those things definitely amplify what's happening.
Well, and also, we've been riding for a long time too, so we have years of experience of knowing where our limits are. Now, I do remember when I was a kid and first getting into mountain biking, and going on some trails and trying to keep up with some faster riders and not realizing that I was over my head. And I see that situation happening even faster, possibly, and we're just speculating because we don't have e-bikes. We don't have very much experience with riding e-bikes. So
Right.
it's just speculation. But what I do see happening is that, you get someone that plunks down their money, they get an e-bike. They don't have a lot of, physical endurance yet, and they haven't been riding for a long time, so their skill set isn't there. And they go and they're doing a ride at a speed and at a skill level that they shouldn't be, and they don't even realize that they're in over their head. And like you said, they won't realize it, and what'll happen is that it won't be pretty. They'll crash, they'll do something, they'll get hurt, and what then?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's definitely, and here's kind of my question, and listener audience, if you want to chime in, this would be a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Who is ultimately going to make that call about the trails? Is it going to be IMBA? Is it going to be, some governing body? Is it, what I mean? Who's going to have that hand of God, if you will, just saying, okay, here's the bottom line with e-bikes and trail access? I mean, would IMBA, have that type of clout to make that happen? I don't think so.
Well, and do they want to? I mean, does
No.
IMBA want to? I mean, they have their hands full just with regular bike access. I mean, and
Totally.
a lot of mountain bikers think that they don't do enough. Jonathan says IMBA is supporting the Levo, which I think is a specialized bike. And Jonathan also says local government probably should be policing or I guess controlling access, which I kind of agree. But with IMBA, if they are supporting the Levo, like you said, and I have no reason to doubt you, obviously, probably because they're getting a lot of support themselves from Specialized, and so they want to keep those ties going. And so if they are going to promote, advocate for e-bikes, I mean, I can't say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I know that some mountain bikers think that IMBA doesn't do enough to support mountain biking in general.
I think, and again, that would be, maybe some bike chat homework on my end. I would honestly think that's probably, to get somebody from IMBA on the show, but I think they have more on their plate that they can deal with, and I feel that it's like trying to fight, a forest fire with like a bucket of water and a broken spigot. I mean, and I don't feel that they're not. It isn't that they're not recognizing that. I feel like they without question, Jonathan, they're supporting the Levo. I get that. It is, and again, this is me saying this. Is that a political move just to keep the big S in their back pocket, or in good faith? I don't know. Whatever. It's just me. It's my opinion, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do know that if all of a sudden, there is that flood of, wave of e-bike access to the trail systems, you bet your ass trail building is going to change. There's no question about it. I mean, I'm sorry, it will change. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying, wide open bomber flat track straightaways, but I mean, I feel like to your point, I feel like people are definitely going to ride faster. I mean, again, it's not, again, and I'm just saying this, it's not like it's going to be, just full tilt, pin to win. But I mean, again, if you know that riding faster is going to be effortless, of course you're going to be trying to ride faster. Gunner, this is right up your alley. I mean, okay, what the hell is going to happen to Strava? How? Okay, I'm going to call you out right now. How are you going to know? Right. How are you going to know? All these people up here, you, wherever, how are you going to know that I'm on a Levo? How would you know? You're going to go, damn, all of a sudden, like, Jonah just got legs or he's got mad skill. Pedal. True. No, I get that. But what I'm saying is off-road, right? I mean, it's a completely different ballpark. Jonathan, I agree with what you're saying as far as pedal bikes having a speed limit. It's almost like a governor in a freaking U-Haul truck. I get that. Right. I think my concern or my point is how, yes, there still may be a governor or a speed limit capability of the bike, but if you're riding the stupid thing off road, I mean, is that really going to be enough of a factor? I mean, other than being able to bomb a straightaway. I mean, if you have a relatively tighter configuration of single track and trails, you're going to be able to hammer.
Right. Well, let's say the Leadville Trail, right? So from what I've heard, and I haven't ridden it, so I can't say for sure, but from what I've heard from riders that have ridden it, is that a lot of it is mostly similar to fire roads. And I think there's a couple of single track sections, but so you have large sections of trails that are similar to fire roads, in which case an e-bike might be the perfect choice to go out and, like you said, kill those Strava sections, because hey, you got some pedal assist, and if it tops out at 20 miles an hour, are a lot of the Strava riders going to be able to top out at 20 miles an hour coming up, what is that, Columbine or whatever the name of that climate?
No way.
But, no way. So I think you do bring up a valid point of, what about things like Strava, or what about even, some regular races where you have e-bikes possibly mixing it in with regular bikes? I mean, we haven't seen that yet, but we did have at Sea Otter, they had a separate category, a separate race for e-bikes. Right. But for a small promoter in, Podunk, wherever, right, doing their local mountain bike race, they're not going to necessarily, are they going to care if someone shows up on an e-bike? They'll be like, whatever, you're riding a bike, sure, pay your $15 entry fee or $30 entry fee, and you can ride.
Yeah, that's good.
As far as for the riders, it's like, well, why does he get to place on the podium when he's on an e-bike and I'm out here busting my hump and I'm barely making mid-pack? So.
Yeah, no, that is exactly another one of those categories, that I feel that a promoter would certainly have to address. I feel like that would, I mean, again, me throwing a director's hat on of an event, I would throw that person into their own category. That would be me. And then I would, again, let's look at gravel grinding, gravel races. They have, at one time, mountain bikers were mixed in with the cross, the cross riders. And then all of a sudden, you definitely started seeing some faster mountain bikers come out there that were putting up, decent times to the point where, they weren't like in the mid pack. There became a mountain category and obviously a cross category that pacified both audiences. I mean, whoever the faster rider across the line was, I mean, 99% of the time was somebody on a cross bike, but whatever. I mean, that was something that certainly solved that issue. Again, with e-bikes, I think that the two things, I mean, number one, there is such a small percentage of end users that have e-bikes, right? And feel that to, make that type of ruling right out of the gate when like a handful of people are legitimately using that type of bike, it doesn't make any sense. I don't think it makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
However, again, as we start to see more of these bikes, hit the marketplace, definitely, no question at all. And I feel like then, it will be I get a level playing field is irrelevant, because they were talking about I don't know if you remember, they were talking about jailbreaking the Levo to make it faster or something stupid like that. I mean, we talked about that too. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, good Lord, if people don't have anything else better to do, but it could happen.
Right. Yeah.
People, yeah. I mean, with there's definitely some smart people out there that without I mean, do you really think an e-bike is that complicated, people? I mean, it's certainly not an iPhone, right? So
Right.
somebody's going to be able to figure out how to jailbreak it. And not only that, then it's going to create a whole different conversation to what you were saying, where, all of a sudden, holy crap, I mean, you got a jailbreak e-bike that can really freaking put down some miles per hour. I mean, that's a huge problem because it becomes, quasi motorcycle,
Right.
right? I mean, it's almost like the moped conversation, like those Vespas and some of those, where yeah, they go. I mean, they're obviously going a hell of a lot faster than you and I pedaling. I mean, they're certainly not a motorcycle, but they're moving.
Right. Well, I know that, and mopeds were big back when I lived in Hawaii, and people would hop them up and do things. So you bought a stock moped, and it would be limited. I think I want to say 30 miles an hour or whatever the horsepower limit was. But then you would get people that they would soup it up. They would get the special exhaust for it, and they would get the special carburetors for it and stuff, and they could eke out at least another 10 to 15 miles an hour on it. And so legally they weren't necessarily considered mopeds anymore, even though it's a moped. So and nobody's going to call, a policeman's not going to pull them over. I mean, unless they're causing some sort of trouble and say, hey, your moped's souped up. And I kind of see the same thing possibly, again, it's speculation, but possibly for trail access, you have e-bikes that are limited at 20 miles an hour. Well, somebody goes and, like you said, jailbreaks it. They can eke out, maybe another 10 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour. And so now you got an e-bike that can go 35 miles an hour. And maybe they hack the system and they don't need the pedal assist anymore. And so you just have a throttle twister. But for all intents and purposes, it looks like an e-bike, regular, pedal assist, 20 mile an hour e-bike, and they're tearing up trails. Who's going to call them out on, doing something wrong? I mean, I'm not going to be able to tell when I'm out riding. It's like whether an e-bike passes me or a souped up e-bike passes me, they're passing me. I'm going slower. When does pilot safety become a concern for those that jailbreak improve performance? Yeah, well, I think that's a good question too. Yeah, when does their safety become a concern? Is that a safety concern for everybody because it's a possibility? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think a lot of this is, we are, converging in new directions, and again, kudos to the industry for creating the product. I will give the industry a thumbs down because I feel like the end user, the audience, the communities, the industry, the infrastructures, I just don't feel, number one, they're ready to embrace the technology and the product the way that the big brain collectives have thought them out. Again, the Levo is a great idea. The pedal system bike's a great idea. The Stormer, those bikes. Yeah, they slowly find their end users and start to make sense because they have an audience they have followings and those kinds of things. But again, on the road, I don't think that it's going to be nearly as critical of an issue. In fact, I don't think anybody really gives a shit. I don't. I mean, I've never. I mean, I see. I'm out riding my cross bike, and dude, I get passed by dudes on pedal assist e-bikes, and they're hauling ass. I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to catch. I'm not gonna be able to catch them. I mean, there's just no way. I mean, it is what it is. So I think that, as I said, each category itself has its own unique sets of challenges. I mean, obviously, if you're riding an e-bike on the roads, I mean, are you going to be carrying the same speeds as a motorcycle moped? I don't know, maybe, but I would say on average probably not. For me and yourself, I mean, you do both road and mountain. I would say that the mountain side of things would be my biggest concern across the board. I think that no question about it. I think the other thing too is that people are going to get like throttle muscles where they feel like again, same conversation, they're going to get themselves into shit they shouldn't be riding, because I think it's like the snowboard mentality where if you see like a 60-foot gap jump, you're not going to hit it. But all of a sudden, you watch a couple videos and you drink a couple Monster Energies, you're like, yo, I got this. And next thing you know, you're wadding yourself up. Could that happen? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's like anything. I mean, is there an idiot factor? I would say without question, yes. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be as extreme as we are trying to portray it? Probably not. But here we go. What's going to happen the first time there is an e-bike collision with a pedestrian? Or what is going to happen the first time Billy takes his, Levo out on single track and wads himself up? Whose fault is it? Right? Is it the manufacturers? Is it the trail system? You know what I mean? And on and on and on. It's like that's crazy. Absolutely. Will the local trails be compromised? Absolutely. I think we've been saying that all along. I could not agree with you more. And I said this over and over again. I feel that the potential to, I don't want to say flood your local trails, but make no mistake about it, is if people just have to throttle twist to get into their favorite trails and not really pedal, oh my God, you bet your ass your local trails are going to get swamped. Right. And is it going to affect the trail systems? Oh my God, absolutely. You see that on trail systems that can't take the amount of traffic they get now with a traditional bike.
Right. Well, and I think, you have trail systems like down in Florida that they've instituted bans on e-bikes, and across the board, we're not going to allow it except for like special occasions, like a demo day or something like that, where you have a limited amount of bikes and a limited amount of people on the trails at a time. But, my hope is that more trail systems and more local areas adopt something similar, just so that we can slow the tide of, okay, well, maybe we'll look at it, but for right now, we're going to say no, because bicycle and hiker and equestrian trail access should be the primary concern. Plus, too, I think that besides the point of people that, like Marty Ashton, besides people like that they have diminished capacity, I think for most people, an e-bike on a mountain bike trail, maybe it should be really limited because of all the things that we've kind of spoken about getting in over your head, turning into just a throttle junkie, all those types of things, I think should make things limited. So, Jonathan, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I don't want my trails that, one, I've worked on, and two, that I ride a lot with. I don't want people out there on e-bikes killing them, taking it away from me. We already have mountain bike trails that we can't get to because of, people riding 20 years ago. Hopefully Jonah can. Let me try and refresh, and hopefully we can get back in. Hey, everybody. Hopefully, go ahead and say something in the chat if you can see me and hear me. Okay, so I got some props coming in. I'm here, but I don't see Jonah on. Is Jonah on for everyone else? Thanks, Joy. Yeah, Jonah's having issues coming back in. So hopefully. There he is.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
I don't know if it was on my end or not, but anyway. So
yeah,
you were saying about talking about the trail advocacy.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think I was just talking about what Jonathan was talking about with the that the fear of our local trails, that if you work on the trails and you already ride your local trails, and then some yahoos come along on e-bikes and ruin it because either they run into people, or they're not being respectful of the trails, or whatever the issue is. We already have problems keeping our mountain bike trails open to mountain bikes, let alone e-bikes. So
yeah, well, and I guess here's the only thing I throw out, and this may prove to be controversial, is we're making a slightly skewed assumption that the people, i.e. the end users purchasing these pedal assist, these e-bikes, are going to be greenhorns, rookies, whatever, just Joey Bag of Donuts, people that just, don't get it. Yes, maybe. Right. However, that still happens with regular bikes. They buy 29ers, road bikes, cross bikes, whatever. They're still cyclists. I get it. I don't want to sound, opinionated or prejudiced, or which I'm not. I mean, it just is what it is. It could be somebody who, was a seasoned rider and, went through some life changes, whatever, didn't really, have the fitness that they used to when they were younger, and wants to get back into it, and, maybe they get it. So, I mean, we have to look at it with, the half full, half empty mentality, and say, well, wait a minute, you're still going to see some people that are those first adapters, that are probably enthusiasts / core cyclists, right? That will do that. The manufacturers are making agile XC race e-bikes. They're making these forgiving plus bikes too. They definitely are, Jonathan. I'm not going to disagree with you, but I still see people that ride those agile XC race bikes, and again, Gunnar has just said this in the show earlier, is you, me, we could probably get on a $300 bike and still rip it. You know what I mean? I'm more than confident in my skill sets, and I don't have to worry about riding my Niner Jet 9. I could get on a Walmart Next bike and still, I mean, it's performance wise totally not going to be the same thing, to your point, but that I think it's certainly a consideration. Is it going to be enough of a hindrance to not have people put those bikes in those types of situations? I don't know that for certain, but again, it is one of those conversations with why we're talking about this on the show, because I feel like this show will happen again and again and again, because I think every time we have the show, we're all going to be able to bridge the last time we had this conversation. And we remember when we had, bike chat on 2016, and this is what we were talking about, and these were some of the things we were worried about. They could probably be so moot that it is not even funny.
Right.
So,
Well, and to get back to the beginning, I haven't bike on trails yet, so I could be completely wrong. I could go out and demo an e-bike and say, you know what, this is going to be the best thing in the world for all cyclists everywhere, not just by guys that ride it, but for people that want to get into mountain biking, for people that want to get into trail advocacy. I think e-bikes are going to, maybe my attitude will change. I don't know. It's one of those things that it's so new, and it's so, like Jonah said, there's not a whole lot of people out there riding them yet.
No.
So it's hard. We're bringing up a lot of points that are concerns, and maybe it's. And usually I don't like to do that. I don't want to focus on negative thoughts and negative energy and the negative aspect of things. But I think that they are concerns that we should look at rather than ignore and just say, okay, well, e-bikes are great for people that can't keep up and do this, which is where we do start. That's where we started the show with today is, for people like Marty Ashton, or people that can't keep up, maybe new riders that aren't as strong to be able to keep up with someone that maybe is stronger. They're great tools for that. The rest of it, I have reservations, and it makes it tough.
Yeah, I think that that is a great a wind down closing remark, Gunnar. I think you're certainly spot on. I mean, the jury or the verdict is still out on e-bikes, and I can encourage any manufacturers or vendors or reps that are watching this now live or on replay, don't hesitate to reach out to us, DM. I am more than willing to again spend time putting one of those bikes through the motion, so that I will have enough personal data and information to be able to intelligently talk about them. As I said, I feel that might be something that, as I said, some personal bike chat homework. Maybe Gunnar, from you and I, we certainly could reach out to our local shops. I do know that one of the dealers I know locally may have a Levo or something of that sort that I can ride, and I don't need a ton of time on it. I think a day or two would probably be sufficient enough to get a good idea of what to expect, other than just maybe like a quick demo, which I truly don't feel gives a good baseline of what to anticipate. As I said, lastly, we want to openly tell you that our feedback, our input, our data is solely based on opinion, and it is not gospel. So just for the listener audience and those of you that may be watching this on replay, please do know that we are not e-bike experts and do not claim to be. However, we do want to bring you our cycling industry commentary and, again, opinions on essentially where this particular topic is. Otherwise, as I said, that is going to essentially take us to the top of the hour on this week's show. Gunnar, the last remark before we take it to the bridge?
My last remark is just have fun, whether you're riding an e-bike or a regular mountain bike or even just a regular road bike. Just go out, have fun, try not to disrupt or harm anyone else. If you're running disc brakes on a road bike, try not to get your finger caught in there and cut it off. Don't crash into other people and chop their legs up or anything like that. And just be safe. Keep the rubber side down.
Yes. Rubber side down. Speaking of rubber side down, I do want to encourage you to check out next week's edition of Bike Chat. The Honey Badger is going to be on the show. None other than Justin Lindeen.
Yeah.
This little man is a powerhouse and an overall just down-to-earth, great individual doing some fantastic things. He hails out of the Catskills, New York region, but is a jack of all trades, from mountain marathons to cyclocross to mountain bike. Again, mountain bike racing. I have had the pleasure to see Justin kind of cut his teeth through the ranks to kind of now move up to where he's at. And he is without question one of those young gun mover and shakers out there. So that is definitely something to put on the calendar. Bike Chat next week. Justin, the Honey Badger Lindeen, be sure to check that out. Also, as a quick reminder, the first Tuesday of July is going to be what, Gunner?
Craft Beer Blab. We'll be talking craft beer, drinking American beer, either Budweiser relabeled as America, or like you said, Genesee's got their limited can out. Surly has their limited hashtag America beer.
That looks good, by the way. I think that would be a good cooking supply exchange.
Yeah. I gotta get some cooking supplies out to you.
It's all good. Well, listen, Bike Chat audience, I do want to give a big shout out to the folks that are tuning in tonight. Again, Joy, great to have you on the show. Jonathan Perez, thank you so much for your time. And as always, a pleasure to have Rick D in the house. Rick doing some great things here in upstate New York. Glad to see some of my local peeps on here. And of course, Gunnar, as always, I do appreciate your time and energies to help me co-host the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this evening's show. We want to thank you for tuning in. This edition has been focusing primarily on e-bikes, industry impact, and trail access. I would say without question, this is going to be a show that will continually be brought back again in some different contexts as more develops. But until then, Jody Pasquale, on behalf of Gunnar Soros and Bike Chat, we are signing off for tonight. Be well. Keep your upside down. Until then, see you on the trails.
Aloha.